Welcome to the Soul Revolution Tribe podcast, where we share stories, laughs, and even a few tears, but always a good time. We are about depth and real raw sharing through soul conversations and medicine. We are learning to find ourselves again and to be an unstoppable force of nature, ready to break down the constructs and rebuild them with love and acceptance at its core. We are the new world. Welcome back to another episode of the Soul Revolution Tribe. I am Jackie, your host, Shamanic Soul Guide, and Remembrance Facilitator. And today I have Angie with us. Angie is a personal trainer with Breezeway Coaching, and she helps people achieve her health and fitness goals. She also is a warrior of life. She has overcome many obstacles that have come her way, and she is really on her own healing journey and learning how to thrive instead of just survive. So I'm so excited to have you with us today, Angie. And I would love for you to kind of start by sharing a little bit of your story so the listeners can kind of get to know you.
Thank you, Jackie. It's an honor to be here. Thank you for the invitation and holding space for my journey. And thank you, all the listeners, for taking time to listen with us and be part of our experience together. So, a little bit of my story. Where to start? The picture of the womb comes to mind, and I'm like, well, that's the beginning of that memory. This experience is where I was placed in this life. But to kind of narrow in on where I came in this exact moment, like what brought me to this space and time, is a lot of awakening, a lot of acceptance to change and surrender to the change, opportunities to see multiple perspectives, and coming back home to self, saying there's something more to me than conditioning and blueprints and constructs and the boxes. Burn down the damn boxes. So I was raised in Maine and enjoyed a childhood of siblings, and those bonds, I'm so grateful for those bonds as a young person, to say they were my best friends through a hard childhood, and nothing to negate the efforts of my parents or their love, but there was woundedness and there was fear. So as siblings, not knowing how to help adults in that way, because we internalize it. We take it on as our own problem, shame, guilt. The tension builds. So you begin to bond with the people in the bunkers, the people in the trenches. And sometimes we're turned against each other. And I've seen that in families, but I recognize a gift that I had with my sister, to band together and say, we're going to figure this out. We're going to love each other no matter the comparison or the challenges or the woundedness in the environment of the home. And it's funny, I never know what I'm going to be bringing forward in my journey. It's like, what's added right now is this love for my siblings. And we're all in different states now. We all have different careers and different families. Some of us have human babies, some of us have fur babies. And we have a sibling thread that we pop in and just send love. We have a family thread that sometimes we participate, sometimes we ignore. And then, we have offshoot conversations of just direct or random phone calls. And my Google Photos will pop up memories with one of the siblings, and just a collage of pictures. So I'll send that, and we'll have these memories of, I missed that time with you, I love you. And just to say, hey, I'm still there for you, even we don't have the space to individually communicate all the details. Uh, And I have four siblings, so it's really special to have relationship, a different type of relationships with each one, and our different memories and our different bonding. Um, so I guess I'm just dedicating this to my siblings right now. There's so much love that I have that they've supported me through a lot of hard things. So on that note, my journey has taken me to Wisconsin as a college student and then a newlywed. And then we moved on to New Jersey, became parents, and then to Michigan and had a second baby. And then from there, we went to Virginia, and it was an awakening of motherhood. Two babies under two, and he was gone a lot for work, for a special assignment, and, and as an active duty member. And I really dug deep. Like, how am I gonna do this? I didn't have friends or family nearby. I was in postpartum depression. My health was so far. I didn't recognize it. And it was an identity crisis or confusion. It was a layer stripped away of of it's funny, I say it stripped away. It was a layer exposed that I didn't know me yet. It was a new layer of skin that I was trying to fit into. Um, and as I fit into that layer of skin, I expanded. I grew outside of that relationship, and the relationship no longer fit. So I took the hard step away, um, and then we separated and entered 2020 as a separated couple trying to survive in the same household during lockdown. And that didn't end well. I mean, just put it like. So in the end of 2020, I found myself stepping out as a single working mom with a 4 and 6 year old, and venturing into a new phase of my motherhood. Um, and then at the end of 2020, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. Um, so I entered 2021 with so much fear, so much unknown, and my siblings all stepped in. And this is where it's going, the emotion of releasing that bond, that love, that support. They all came from different states, stay with me at different times, take care of my kids, get them to school, help them with their homework. And it was such a beautiful picture. I have pictures. I took every picture, like these moments with them when I was going through surgery and medication that was rough. It's supposed to help the pain, but man, it messed up the head. um, and then I entered chemo, and they weren't able to stay with me through those periods. They helped me through the surgery recovery. We'd go on walks, we'd just talk, we'd cry together, watch movies. Again, help with my kids, and made sure that they knew that they were present and loved when mommy was hurting and recovering. And um, my girls and I moved in with friends that helped me through the chemo when I didn't have a place to live and I wasn't working, and the separation and divorce process was becoming more painful, more wounded, more distant. And these friends were just so supportive. It was hard. It was blending families. It was a friend from college who had her own kids. She remarried because her husband passed with cancer. And so that was just such a hard connection But I feel the universe put me in these places of so much fear and grief to turn it into love, to transmute it, to change the environment, to say we can come through this and bring love. There's pain, and we have to grieve those layers of pain, and the grief stays with us, and we learn to keep expanding it into love.
Yes.
So that was the summer 2021 to 2022, and then I got back on my feet. I found another place to live. I found my own place for the first time in my journey to call my own home with just me and my girls, and I still have that place. And I got through an intense reconstruction surgery in the summer of 2022. 8 weeks of recovery at home. Well, there's 5 days in the hospital, 8 weeks of recovery at home, and then 3 months of physical therapy outside of home. And all through that time, I was single mom, getting the girls established into a new school. I was so proud of myself. There were so many adulting things that I hadn't learned. I didn't have those skills because I usually had a partner. I had my ex-husband to navigate every transfer when we were active duty and rebuilding a home, rebuilding our lives, and setting up like the Wi-Fi and setting up our different parts of life that you have to set up, like a new grocery store and new doctors and all that stuff. That I usually had someone to kind of help with that rebuilding. But I figured it out. I did it, and I cried and screamed a lot through it. And then I built safety for my girls and a routine, and my parents helped me financially in that time, and that was a big step for them. That was something that they're they're comfortable doing. It was scary for them. They've lived in scarcity and fear for so long, having their own financial support. Um, and I really am grateful for that and honor that, respect that. So thank you, mom and dad, for being there for me in the best way you could. Physically, they can't, they're not able bodied to help support me in other ways, and still struggling with their own fears and emotional woundedness. Uh, it's scary to face your shadows. So they didn't have that opportunity or the network. Uh, so I recognize that, and I hold space for that. I also hold high boundaries, so I don't let the woundedness penetrate or infiltrate my boundaries, my health, mental and physical. And so I take time to communicate in what's safe and healthy for me, and always sending out the love and support, because it's an energy exchange in this world. So that took me to, let's see, we got through 2022. I was able to process the divorce in the spring of 2023 and finalize it 3 days before our 16th anniversary, and shed a lot of shit. There was so many cords, so many energetic ties, so much love, and a feeling of a loss of closure that, wait, I wanted to fix it. Wait, don't go. But then releasing control and saying, this is not my job to fix, this is not my job, or even my right to control. It is meant for his separate journey, my separate journey. And then I was gifted with the opportunity to start personal training again, because I had been training in the fitness field for over 10 years. Um, and got into training right before my diagnosis. And I was picking up pace, I was picking up clients, I was picking up the ability to give that medicine to other people. And then I felt ripped away. I felt like it was just stolen from with this diagnosis. And uh, through my healing and journey, I realized it brought me so much more depth to my practice. It brought me so much more awareness of myself and the tools I needed to heal me and then bring to others. So I feel so much more alive. I feel so much more healthy. I have expanded my community tenfold, whatever number we want to put to that. I have brought um, a new understanding to comeback journey and recovery. Because I thought just coming back from pregnancy and postpartum and delivery and all of that changes to the body was it that was the aha moment. Like, oh, that was a foundation, that was a layer. And then coming back from breast cancer, it was more than the chemo. It was the surgeries and the restructuring of my upper body strength and mobility and relearning the flow. Um, and I'm so impressed and honored by my body to keep showing up. The more I nurture myself, the more I show up for my body emotionally and mentally. So all of that to segue is I was gifted with this opportunity in June. I was off an invitation, which I'm a projector. So invitations are like these juicy gifts, these juicy little nuggets of, ooh, where's this gonna take me? And Calvin from Breezeway Coaching, his beautiful company that he birthed and created for expanding his offering to the world, his gifts. He said, I want to expand my team. Are you thinking about training again? You are someone I'd want to work with. And I was so honored by that invitation and gift that I took it. I said, yes, let's 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 partner up. Let's make Breezeway Coaching more than personal training, more than coaching, more than nutrition. Let's bring medicine and life to people. Let's help people transform to a deeper awareness of self. And let's, we're presenting it through fitness. We're presenting it through movement, but it's so much.
Oh, yes.
And it's to build that awareness of not just self, but others around us, to know how to move together, to dance together, to partner together, to respect one another, to live in harmony. And it's not just balance, it's the harmony, the blending with the masculine, the feminine. It's blending of love and life. I almost said it is a blending of love and fear because we can't remove the fear. It's
We
it
dance with
doesn't.
it. That's what I say.
Yeah, we just like we can't remove the grief.
Fear is
We can.
actually a beautiful, it's like one of our best friends if you think about it. Like fear is letting us know we're hitting the edges. We're entering that unknown. And for me, every time that kicks in, I get excited. It's not a bad thing for me. It's like, okay, I'm stretching beyond what my mind can contain at the moment. So what is that going to bring me?
Mm, because we see the other side now. We're not afraid of the other side. We see the fear, but it's not attached to us. And in the moments that it does, we have gotten to the point now we understand, ooh, this net is not of me. This doesn't need to sit in my body. And I will then take those moments to ground or just cry because that's the body releasing. We talk about in the fitness, sweat is we sweat out the pain. And that's so true to the crying, the releasing the fear, releasing the control of the fear, or releasing the control of love. And we touched on that a little bit before we were recording, and we just said we have to let that love release just as much we have to let the fear release
Yes.
because it's a danger.
Well, if you think about it, think of the word control in any
Mm,
relationship, and that's in the shamanic belief, like we're in relationship with everything, right?
yeah.
And so if you think about a relationship, if there's control in the relationship, that means I don't trust.
Mm,
So it's stepping away from where I feel like I'm starting to feel like I'm the energy of control is coming in. It's a self check to me going, okay, where do I not trust? Am I not trusting me? Am I not trusting my partner in this relationship? Like not even like a physical partner, like
yeah.
whatever I'm doing, that situation is my partner. That's what I'm in
Yeah.
relationship with in that space. And so remembering just like with our relationship with love or fear, it's not meant to be controlled because if we're controlled, we don't like it, right? Like we're
Right.
supposed to flow and be in harmony, and when you hit that, that was beautiful because that's it's not a 50-50 ever. Like it's like
Right.
I have 20, you give 80, and then it goes back and
Yeah.
forth. We're here, we're support. It's like this back and forth like harmonic connection. It's not about everybody being half of everything. It's a give and take in this beautiful exchange. That's how I see it.
Yeah. Yeah. One of my favorite authors is Brene Brown, and I don't remember which book because she has so many beautiful books. But she was talking about uh with her partner, with her husband, what she has to give. Like they kind of have a check-in with each other. I have the 20 to give, or I thought I had 60, but I got depleted real fast, and do you have the extra to give? And if you don't, where can we find that? Or do we just need to cut back on our expectations of the day and say this is what we bring to the table, and that, and then make sure that we find that thing, that priority, that need our kids, whatever, making sure they have dinner. Put all of our energy into that, and then whatever else needs to be pushed off or just completely washed away is released, and there's no guilt over it. And
Absolutely.
I've been
Making sure to hold
I've been
compassion
finding
for each other in that process.
yes, yes. And as I don't have a partner in my home right now, I've been integrating that in a self way,
Yeah.
like having those conversations with myself, right, Angie? That's what you got. How much energy do you have left? What needs to get done to provide safety and support and nurturing for your children? Where are their needs? And it's hard. It's really hard to sacrifice what I want all the time to make sure that their needs are met. But I also have opportunities to have the conversations with them. Like, what mommy is really tired. Mommy's at this point of the day. Are you guys able to step up a little bit more? Or are you able to help me in this way? I can show up for you here. You need support with this homework or getting through the shower. So we can snuggle and have that peace and that
Bring back to
coziness.
the love.
Yeah.
Love is what fills both of you up or all of you up.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have two girls. They are 9 and 7 right now. We started the school year last week, fourth and second graders, and they're so happy. They're so happy that they're able to go back to the same school, uh, to build on the foundations that we started last year. Uh, See some of their old friends, old teachers, and it just fills me up. It just fills me up so much that we've had the opportunity to be at this side of the building blocks. When you start to plant seeds and you're seeing the harvest.
Yes. You see the fruit blossoming in that.
Yeah.
You feel it
Yeah.
strengthen. So even if it's not fruiting yet, it's like you see the plant growing taller and thicker and able to support itself in that process.
And kids thrive on that.
Mhm.
And this is a beautiful segue to say shifting from surviving to thriving.
Yes. And
Um,
that's your whole story was sharing that. Like
yeah,
even the cancer, like for me, like with my cancer scare, I didn't go through as much as you did, but at the same point it was the self-check for me to go, okay, I've been in survival mode for so long and I
yeah,
am letting go with love that old version of me. And that's what passed away during that cancer tradition. And I'm choosing to actually live. So I had an option there. Like for me, like that's how I looked at it is like I'm choosing to fully live now instead of survive. And so I can shed those layers and step in and shine the way I was meant to be and make different decisions moving forward.
yeah, yeah. The shame, um, a
And it's not
lot.
always easy.
Oh fuck no! Pardon, pardon, Lynn. Yeah, and that's what a lot of people don't face it. They are in their comfort pain. There's different layers, you know. There's new pain, old pain, and then comfort pain. You're like, yeah, that's how I've gotten through it. You know, the survival mode of, well, I know that my mental capacity or my body can handle this much pain and the threshold, and they don't want to push through that because of the fear of recovery. I think that is a big thing of any diagnosis. Am I going to make it to the other side of recovery, or is this going to be the thing that knocks me out? And some of us have high motivation internally. Some of us have it messing up that word, externally,
Yes.
extrinsically. Um, for me, it was my kids. So I had it extrinsically. I was like, I'm not saying no to these treatments. I've got to do everything I can to say, mommy did the work to make sure she could be here in your life long term. And for kids, it's hard. It's hard to say in the short term because it was trauma for them too to say, where's mommy? Mommy can't hold me the same way. Mommy's got a lot of stitches and pain and bruises, and it's just mommy's changing. Mommy looks different because of the chemo. Mommy's not well. Mommy's distant, and so they were young. They were young to see that, and I blocked a lot out because it was trauma. It was a lot to go through, especially without a supportive partner or husband, or father. He wasn't showing up in their lives either. And so um, I I don't I haven't known how they processed it in the moment until we came out of it. And then things started to pop up like notes to me, love letters, and their admiration. You got through cancer. You're so strong. And uh, it just it melts your heart. It melts your heart to see how your babies see you and to know that the love is what carried it all through. I kept showing up, kept going to the gym, I kept dancing in the house with them, I kept holding them, I kept snuggling them at night. Mean mommy came out. There were mean mommy conversations. There were times of like, all right, mommy's so tired right now. And the tension rose or the loud voice came out and it was so hard to expose that part of myself. But then it was also humbling to see them love me through it and to hold space for me
And to
and
the
then to
lesson that they
understand.
can see if people can have all those emotions and it doesn't make them a bad person. So
Yeah,
mom's tired and frustrated and burnt out, and maybe the emotion's speaking. And that gives me permission. Mommy's acknowledging that she's human too. And that gives me permission when my emotions are that way, that I'm not bad either. I'm just going through a
Right.
process.
Right. So they know my fitness journey, they know my cancer journey, they know my divorce journey. They're going through a journey of their dad remarrying and in a household with step siblings. And they come to me. They come to me with a lot of heaviness, and my Scorpio rising comes out. I'm a bear comes out. I want to burn it all down and protect them and take them out of it. But that's not my control. That's not my place. So I'm learning how to change all of that anger and fear and love and support them and their dad. To say that's okay. They have love. It's different. It's love. And they have a safe place. They have safe places. And so I talk about them as my external motivation to get through the cancer. And, I relate that to how I connect with my their external motivation and then transmuting that into the internal motivation.
Yes.
Say, okay, I want to lose weight. I want to get in shape because I got this event, or I've got, some clothes I want to fit into, or I'm hitting a certain birthday and I want to look a certain way, or I got a vacation. That's great. Those are all there. They all have a beautiful purpose and intention to kind of wake us up. It's like that first knock on the door. Hey, I see you. I see me. And then you get in the process of training. You get in the process of creating a new habit, health routine, and things start to change. And you're like, oh, this feels good. I I like this new side of myself. Or there's the part that's like, this sucks. I do not like the pain. I do not like the muscle recovery. I do not like how this. Oh, I think I just lost my Bluetooth. Are you still able to hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, so they lose their the external motivation turns into like a burden,
Mhm.
because what's surfacing internally is that pain and that grief that they're not used to observing. And that's what I've learned through my fitness journey is allow that pain. It's not just about physical pain, it's the emotional. Like, what is this block? What is this fear holding me back from these goals and these desires? Wow. And how to push them through, how to release them. Because I find that people meet their goals and their results because they're opening up their channels to flow. They're opening up their heart, which sometimes is very wounded, very guarded, very shattered. And that was my biggest awakening, is that cancer was not the disease taking me out. It was heartbreak.
Mhm.
It was heartbreak to my core. And so many layers that had to be surfaced to heal that heart and then bring forth love for others. All starts when you bring it forth for yourself first.
Absolutely. Well, and what you're saying is those external motivators, like they said, they're external, they shift. But when you can tap into that inner, and it really comes back to the message of like movement is medicine in any
Yeah.
shape or form, but it truly is medicine. And there's so much healing in that. And how you say, like we were talking before, how you're like, I feel like I'm a transmuter of the energy and things like that, and I'm a grief holder, and that's what you're doing in your practice right now. because as they're doing these things, they're bringing up those emotions, and people don't realize like you have one goal, but it's unlocking so much, which brings so much depth and healing to you as a person, where you are not only evolving on the outside, your outside appearance, but inside is shifting too.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you for your take on all of that and your observations. Transmuting, is it's such a beautiful process, and we don't realize we're doing it.
Mhm.
We've been doing it for our whole lives, our whole human experience, and we don't realize until the awakenings how powerful we are.
Yeah. Well, and it's not about a doing. That's what we have to realize. It's not about anything we do. It's who we be and how we show up, and our energy is what's transmuting it. It's just being able to hold that space. And that's why a lot of the times we didn't even realize we're doing it, because that's our energy. It's energy is always taking in and shifting things. Like I've heard most of my life of like, Jackie, you're like a breath of fresh air. I come to you and I just feel better. Like you don't even have to say anything. I just feel better in your presence, because that's the energy. The energy transmutes without even words being spoken. It's like my
Mm.
energy hugs other people, and like it's okay.
And that's such a beautiful point to expand on why it's so important for energy hygiene and energy boundaries, and it's not just about physical hygiene or mental hygiene. um it's all synchronized, mind, body, spirit. And I when I see people now and they're overweight, or they're how they carry themselves, not just from a trainer point of view of, oh, all the terminology of posture and so forth, or if you see their toes pointed in, I'm like, oh no, their hips, we need to help strengthen these parts of their muscles to align better. So there's the physicality of, I see a person, I'm like, all right, I see the movements we need to do in order to help your posture and your alignment and your walking, because that will protect your joints and create safer longevity in your duration on this earth. But I see now the energy field of the heaviness that they're carrying. If someone is really bent over and there's grief on them, there is depression, there is stress, and people are understanding, going to the masseuse, going to chiropractors, getting adjustments realigned, and they're like, yeah, all my tension, I carry all my stress up here. I'm like, they're still seeing it in a physicality way instead of internally, and that energetic aspect of, where did this grief and depression come from, and how do I view it in order to release it? How do I hold space for it? And so a lot of times in my sessions, those conversations will come up, and I have the opportunity to transmute them unknowingly. Like you said, being in other people's energy, you get that opportunity to experience healing in more ways than you signed up for. And I I'm very honored with that awareness and that perception. And I'm learning moral or ethical ways to make sure I don't invade in people's energy and space or interject, even if I know something or see something. I wait to be invited. I wait for them to open up and say, this is what I'm dealing with. And sometimes they just need to talk about it. Sometimes they ask for help. But I love the opportunity to move with people. So a lot of times in my sessions, I'm working right alongside of them. and flowing with them. And it provides emotional support, physical support, emotional support, but that mirror practice.
Well, and your energy is leading theirs. The
Yeah.
Capricorn in you lights up because that's what it is. It's your energy is leading theirs in that process. Another beautiful thing, like with movement, what I do is like when you're going through those heavy emotions, take that to your workout. I am releasing this fear. And so every time I do a lift or I move, whatever, that's the intention that I'm taking it and I'm moving it and not pushing it away. Is like I'm physically like moving my body through whatever it is and I'm feeling it. So sometimes like people looking at me might think I'm like completely losing it because I'm like having this very like intense like a bawling session as I'm doing these motions, but really it's like this deep healing. And this is the best tool we have is us. Like you, our bodies are amazing the way the things it will hold and the things it can do and like allowing it to be. Sometimes like people are like, I can't afford all of these fancy tools and whatever. You are the best tool you have. And so really just moving your body in whatever way it feels and setting that intention is huge starting point.
Yes. Yes. And that's where I felt my foundation of awakenings began, was as a mover. And it started as an athlete. I needed an outlet outside of my home, and my dad was very supportive of sports. Um, Sometimes it got too much or overbearing, but I learned this beautiful foundation of movement through team sports, soccer, softball, and basketball. And I started learning them in middle school, and I played in high school, and I even got to play soccer and softball through college. And it was kind of an escapism sometimes. I did not really enjoy being a student, so I but I liked playing, so I was like, well, I gotta get the grades so I can keep playing. But the team environment was so healing for me. And if you think about team sports, you're given different positions, and you're all meant to collaborate for the goal of scoring the actual goal in soccer, or scoring a run in softball, scoring the points in basketball. And you have to get along. You build relationships on the court or the field that may not carry over outside of that. And I experienced both sides. I experienced like, well, we're just teammates, we get the job done.
But the
And I've
love that
experienced,
moves through at least even on just the field.
yeah.
You could feel it. Like when a team is super successful, like my son plays baseball, you can see like energetically see the love that's getting transferred and like the support in that, even if it doesn't leave the field, but it's still there is something there, that connection where it's just like flowing. It's like they're one organism in that space.
Yeah. And then yeah, it can carry off the field, and you have those friendships carry on. One I think about is one of my best friends. We've known each other since kindergarten, and I'm really impressed with all the places I've moved away and lived, and all the stuff I've gone through in my life. She's still in our hometown, well, across the river, but she's still where we grew up. And she recently got a kitten, and she's a dog person, so like this is huge, and we're bonding over this animal that I never thought she would invite into her life. I have 3 cats, so so I'm just so in awe of that friendship for such a huge part of my life. And we are so far different people, such different perspectives or lives, but we played sports together, and She was in my wedding, and she's, supported me all through cancer and the divorce and our health. We send snaps to each other every day about our workouts or just our animals or other silly things, we're
It's that
um
love. Even if you have different perspectives, I find sometimes those are the most beautiful relationships because we
mhm,
challenge each other in a loving way because love's at the core. So it's
yeah.
like my perspective's this way. And because we love, we're more open to, okay, I see that. And I can agree to disagree. That's fine. But you're just giving me an expansive view of the world that it's not just the way I see it, that there's other things too. And I love that.
Right. Oh, that's such a beautiful point about how we learn through other people's experiences, because we're multifaceted people ourselves, so we have a plethora of experiences and point of views, and then when we find other people to commune with in their energy, we're learning from them, even if it's a different lens. We're learning through that experience because we've opened safe space to listen,
Yeah.
to learn, to feel.
For them to be
And
100% who they are with no judgment and you're allowed to be 100% of you are, that is the deepest like relationship you can ask for.
yeah, yeah. And and you feel like you've lived multiple lives within this life.
Yep.
And I really love like that point of that concept, or that aha moment just really sings loudly to me about the shamanic journey, about shamanism, about, because I've been leaning into that, and I've coming into the awareness of my journey being in that light, being in that awareness, understanding. So yeah, I've done shadow work. I've done a lot of past life regressions and seen things, and wow. So understanding the expansiveness of my journey before this life, other lives, and then to be in this life right now, and to understand lives upon lives within lives and others' lives. And I thought, just being a military spouse was such a different life experience, because I literally lived in multiple states and had different communities and different lives within lives. I'm gonna keep saying it that way. And it felt, there were points where it felt so overwhelming, but it was the expansion that was happening. And sometimes when we resist expansion, disassociation happens.
Mhm.
And so now being in this place of understanding, oh, this was all meant, this is my journey, this is to understand the layers within the layers, and to be able to hold space for it.
All of the
um
shamanic initiations to get you here.
there it is, there it is. And sometimes you're like, wait, whoa, when did I sign up for this? Why? How'd that happen? And then you're like, oh wow, that's pretty cool. I feel pretty honored. Um, do I get a break anytime soon? Okay, no, all right, cool.
It's finding the peace within yourself during those times. It's like the storms are always going to be moving, and we're the eye of the storm and going, okay, energy, I just need a breather. I'm not asking for a year. I just need a breather right now in this moment and be able
Yeah.
to catch your breath and still honoring that. That brings us to the topic of like really that hustle culture and like what your view of that, of like being able to truly surrender and allowing like without having to do all the time. Like, what's your view on that?
My view is that it sucks me in and I get angry. And my view is that I've gone through different phases of experiencing the hustle culture, and every time I the universe finds a way out for me, to say This is not meant for you long term. This is meant for you to experience and to understand it does not feel well in your body. And to say, to give other people permission out, but also to hold space for people that haven't been able to feel safe outside of it. So earlier I talked about when I see people kind of hunched over, they're burdened, they're holding their stress and tension in their shoulders, and there's depression. Well, there's the opposite side, the people that are so upright and they walk so heavy and so fast because they're so stressed and anxiety that they're afraid to sit, they're afraid to rest, they're afraid to pause.
Really, like the world is going to completely pass them by if they even stop for a moment.
Yeah. And those are the people that we have to slow down, or to invite to slow down, to say it's okay if you miss a workout. It's okay if you have a whole week of rest days, but we could start with just 2, you know. It's okay if you don't count your calories. It's okay if you eat pizza 2 days in a row.
Really,
Not to hate
like
on
letting
pizza.
go of some of that, like what I hear is like letting go of some of that structure, because sometimes we're so driven of, once again, we were talking before, the boxes we have to check. Otherwise, I'm a failure. And like they don't realize a lot of that time, that's what it is. It's that the program of like, I'm not going to be enough if I don't show up and I don't do. And so like breaking that down of like, you can just be. And then we're in the cycle, like we're meant to rest too. Like there is days to rest and there's days to move, and allowing your energy to decide which day it is.
Yes. And the earth does that. The earth shows us through the seasons how to withdraw, and not, and a lot of people think of withdrawal as a negative thing, as a not showing up and not participating in the expectations of the hustle culture or societal constructs. And like, that's okay. Withdraw from people pleasing, withdraw from other people's expectations, because you are the one that matters the most.
And as you
And
withdraw in the positive way, like you're pulling your energy, now you have extra energy to utilize for you. That's what you're
yeah,
doing. It's not like you're taking away or less of something like that. It's like I am taking back what was always mine that I didn't
yeah,
realize I may unconsciously like gave away. And so I can
yep,
take that back and then now say, what do I truly desire? And I have this extra energy in my hands, like you can't see me, like, but now I have this, so I have more in my cup to put into things that truly light me up and move me forward towards my goals, because I've had so many cords of obligation that I didn't realize that I'm not truly obligated. That's not truly my role.
yeah,
And that's the same thing when it comes down to the control. It's like we're gripping on super tight and realizing, oh, wait, that's not my responsibility, my job, or right to be doing. So I can, like, honestly, as I did that, like, that's what it, when you let go, like, that's what it is. You take the deep breath and you're like, oh, okay, I can feel lighter. I feel the burden shift because I'm not taking on everybody else's things.
right,
My only job is to focus on me. Because if I'm
yeah,
not focusing on me and I'm focusing on everybody else, who's focusing on me? No one. So I
mhm,
belong where I belong here, and let them, because you're also, when you're focusing on them, you're shifting them out of their own thing. It's kind of like coming back to holding the pen of your story. If I'm taking
mm,
everybody else's pen, no one's holding my pen and I'm taking it from them. And it's their
mhm,
journey to write. It's their journey to experience. It's their lessons to learn. We can
mhm.
guide, but we don't want to take the control of actually taking the pen from them.
Yeah, it's when we, there's multiple things I'm thinking here. Um, Giving out our energy to others is a sense of self-betrayal. And then we have to learn self-respect. That is the foundation of self-love. And then with the pen aspect, you know, we are creating a disservice to self-agency. If we're taking other people's pens and we're expecting someone else to hold our pen, there's codependency all written all over that. Pun intended. And then there's the removal of self-agency and self-autonomy. And when we're doing that as adults, then we enter children into the picture, and we right away are telling them they don't matter. When they come into this world with so much wisdom for us, they might be physically dependent on us, but emotionally and mentally, they're all there. They know
They're our
everything
biggest
that's on.
teachers.
And another one of my jobs is working at a daycare / preschool, and I'm in the baby room right now. I just got shifted this fall, and I'm in love. I'm so in love with these little faces and these coos and this. I grieve a little bit of my newborn phase, my motherhood, because I wasn't aware of them. I wasn't fully understanding all that these babes, my babes, were bringing to me, because I was tired, postpartum depression, and just marital stuff issues. And part of me felt robbed, but now the universe is like, no, babe, that was what it was meant for, because we knew you loved them, even if you didn't feel it, you didn't know how to express. You showed up, you were the mom meant for them. And now, through your journey, you're holding space for these children in a setting that they're not with their moms all day long, and they are still loved by you. And these mothers trust this facility, and this facility, the directors trusted you to work there with these gifts. And my babies are at different schools and their grades with other moms, other dads teaching them, and I trust them. And this is the beautiful energy exchange, is we do not have to be everything for somebody else. We hold space for them because we showed up for ourselves and created self-agency in our own body, our own mental capacity. And it's a check and balance of, have I shown up for myself so I can show up for these other beautiful souls? And so my message is self-agency. Teach it to yourself, reparent yourself, relearn.
Absolutely. It also makes me think of, like, there's times where we don't, like, we're invited in for that guidance, like kind of what I do. Like, I'm a soul guide. It's not me taking the pen, but it's like me almost like wrapping around and helping hold the pen, like when we're shaky. Or like with our kids, our job is to help mold and help guide them. We're not here to take it from them so they don't learn. It's like I just think of my little kids when we're starting to learn how to write their alphabet. And sometimes I'd have
Yeah.
to take them and like take their hand and move it in the sand. This is an A. I didn't
Yeah.
write the A and say this is the A. Now you have to memorize it. It's that body memory and knowing that you have that support in that. So sometimes like that can be helpful, but allowing them still to be a part of it. Like that's the healing part. Like for me, I changed my name from holistic healer to shamanic soul guide because I wanted to make sure that I really empowered the people that I work with. I'm not doing the healing,
Yes.
you're doing the healing. And that's when like literally when I realize like they hear the word healer sometimes and they think that I'm here to fix them. Like, no,
Right.
you're the one doing the
Right.
effort. I'm guiding a process. So that's how it like
Right.
visually comes to me is like literally so you may be at a point in your story where you're feeling broken, you're not broken, you're feeling broken and you're feeling shaky and you're like, how do I even move forward? How do I write the next thing? And your hands all trembling and I say, it's okay. And I'll put my hand over you and like and allow you to write. And I'm helping to be the stable, that space holder for you and say, maybe this is the time just to breathe and pause. We don't have to write anything at the moment. And that's
Mm.
space.
That's one of my favorite things to talk about with the kids, my girls. Pause, breathe, respond. I've written it on our mirror so they see it. I was so proud of them when they were last year getting to know their new school and their teachers, and they were in the guidance counselor, like new student welcoming and helping them transition and adjust. They talked about those things that we talked about at home, and I was such a proud mama. And they're like, pause, breathe, respond. And initially, I was using that for like diffusing little fights that they would have or explosions. I'm like, whoa, 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 before we react, let's have a moment to pause and breathe, release, shift, and then we have clear space to respond. But there's so many deeper layers and aspects of that. It's not just to diffuse anger or conflict. It's within self. Say, why am I experiencing this hesitation or block or fear? What is causing my body to shake? Uh, I find that happening to myself a lot in riveting conversation, or where I'm lit up, or when I'm like a trauma response is triggered. And I'm like, okay, my body is really, really responding right now. What do I need to do? I just need to get up and move it. Like shake it out. I do and I'm at the gym, I dance a lot in between my sets. I'm excited, or I just didn't feel great in that lift. So I'm like, all right, let's shift it,
Yeah,
shake
move
it
the
out.
energy.
Yeah. Um and it's fun. It's liberating because I wasn't allowed to dance as a child. It was considered simple to move your body in that way. So now I'm like doing it all. Mama's gonna shake what she got, and I teach my girls that, and I shift out toxic conditioning to say I want to be embodied, and that is my biggest message for my movement medicine, is to get into your body, get comfortable in that skin, become a mover physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Embody, embody, embody. Let your soul feel safe in this human form, because that's why we're here, to experience, to journey, to shift from fear to love, love to fear, to understand the grief or not understand the grief, but to honor it, to see it, to observe it and say, okay, you can have space here. You don't hold me. You don't suffocate me. You don't strangle me. You move through me.
Absolutely. Giving that grief a voice. We're a vessel
Mm-hmm.
for it.
It all deserves space. All of those parts of your body deserve space to be respected, to be loved, to be honored. And when we give ourselves that permission, we hold that space for ourselves, we give permission to everybody else around us. And we say, I see you. It does not make me less or greater to see you. It says we all exist and hold space. And there's enough space for us all. It does not matter what people think of the population and all those statistics that get swirled out there. The universe always expands. It always expands. And then we grow and we rise together.
Oh, I love it. I just feel like that's a mic drop moment. Like,
Yeah.
hit my soul. Like, 'cause
Yeah.
that's so truth. Like, I'm done with the competition, like culture. I want
Yeah.
collaboration. My soul yearns for that. Is there is so much abundance to go around. There's so much space for everybody. Everybody's voice matters. And sometimes
Mm-hmm.
people get louder because they feel like that's the only way they can be heard. But really, honestly, sometimes it's the quiet voice that brings the most
Mm-hmm.
attention. Like, oh,
Mm.
ooh, okay. I hear that. That hit a little deeper. that I don't
Mm-hmm.
have to raise my voice in that point because I'm not overcompensating. Does that make sense? Like sometimes
That
that's how
does
I feel
make sense.
sometimes.
And it's so
It's that
cool that you
grounded,
bring that up.
peaceful voice that can be
Yeah.
in normal tone of just saying it's okay. When all of the emotions and everything's going on and all these thoughts is just that voice going, it's okay. You're okay here. You're okay to feel that. It's all right. And it's okay not to be okay.
Yes.
It's okay to
It's
be in
okay.
this moment and experiencing all the feels because that's why we came to
Yes.
have this human experience, to
Yes.
feel the whole spectrum, not
Yes.
numb it, not shut it off. It's to
Right.
understand and have the contrast.
Yeah. Um, it's so beautifully, it's amazing that you bring, I mean, as we are aware and we see the signs and messages, we start to like, oh yeah, of course that happened. Of course it happened that way. There's a certain number that I picked up on is my number to follow, like a scavenger hunt
Mhm.
that the universe has placed, or just pops in here and there. And it's my unique number, so it doesn't matter. It's not meant for somebody else to be like, oh my gosh, now I got to watch out for that number. So I
Yeah.
don't share it, and outside of my very very close circle, because it's kind of fun to be like, oh, look at this other little Easter egg I found, or this other little nugget in my scavenger hunt. So last night I'm driving and I'm listening to this podcast about psychic gifts and understanding someone, or somebody sharing their journey and think it wasn't typical like everybody else's. And she's holding space for people to be like, maybe this is how it happened for you. It's just, so I see you, I hear you. And in front of me is a license plate that has the letter U, my number, and then SHH. So it's like you.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck? Wow, that was really direct. Like, this is very okay. What does this mean? So at first it's like the illogical brain says, be quiet. I'm like, be quiet about what? No, you've been telling me to open my throat. So I'm kind of yelling, having something. I'm supposed to open my heart, my throat chakra, and speak my voice and be strong and confident. What do you mean? So then I think more. I'm like, okay, where does this feel? What does it feel like in my body? And it comes. The message is like, be still.
Mhm.
I'm like, but I'm driving right now. I need to get to where I need to get to.
I love this
And
because
then,
this is, I don't know if you can see it. You can see it because you're with me, but the listeners won't. I have this little sign here and it says, the quieter you become, the more you can hear.
yeah. So got this message, be still. I'm like, okay. I got sucked in the hustle culture, didn't I? I know the summer was rough. I thought I could make up for my lack by doing more. I know it's not my design. I was trying to prove something different, but I needed that lesson or that experience to understand that's not safe in my body. That's not the alignment.
It gives you the contrast so then you can help share that
Yeah.
medicine for other people because you're living an experience. You're not just teaching a concept, you've lived the concept.
Yeah. Woo, we did. And then the universe gently reminds, like, you remember when you got burnt out and there was a big diagnosis to kind of rock your world? Let's not go there. You don't need to go there again because you experienced it and you got through it. Let's keep you safe. Let's remember these lessons. I'm like, okay, be still, be still. And then they're reminding me of my calendar. I am such super anal about my calendar and color coding and time blocking, like 30-minute increments. Whew. So they're like, stop micromanaging. We've told you this before. Stop micromanaging yourself. You can have structure, but you also can allow space for flow and forgiveness when you don't get that damn task done.
Yeah.
You know how to pick your priorities. You know what needs to be on the table every day and what can slide off or wait for the next day, next week, next month, next year. It'll You're okay. And then let go of control about money. Like, But how do I know? How do I know? And they're like, you don't have to know. You don't have to know. But then they said, be still in combination with the be quiet and know. So one of my religious upbringing, a lot of times I push those phrases and those things or those scriptures out. The trigger. They're like, no, there was so much love in that. There was so much
There's
wisdom.
truth to as well. Yeah, there's truth.
Yeah. So one thing it came forward, be still and know. Like, oh, when I'm still, I hear and I know. And I find it comes, and this is the surrender, this is the acceptance, this is the
Present.
weight.
It's asking you to be
The
present in this moment,
yeah,
in this space right here. Because our mind can keep jumping forward or keep going
yeah,
back to protect us. It's going to replay the back so we don't do that moving forward. Or it's worried about how we're going to come with money for XYZ. And the soul's just saying, I got you. Just
yep,
be in this moment.
yeah,
Let go of that because we are a human being. So we're supposed to be present, not a human doing and worrying about everything else. Doesn't mean that
yeah.
we don't take the aligned action. We take the
Mm-hmm.
aligned action when we feel the call, but also remembering that rest and that surrender and that we are in a co-creation space. We're
Yeah,
not the sole creator. We're co-creating with our divine,
yeah,
with the people around us. It's a collaboration. It comes back to that collaboration energy. And what you were saying about your calendar brought it like full circle back to the beginning when we were talking about the how much energy do we have? It's literally a
yeah,
conversation that you're having with yourself on a different level,
yeah,
but it's like, okay, so I'm expecting all these things of me, but then I'm
yeah,
not meeting myself where I'm at and allowing that space to go, hey, I only got 20 today. I'm getting some things.
yeah,
Doesn't mean that I only have 20 energy wise because my 80% of energy is working in the background.
yeah. Thank you for that full circle because I see a full day on the Google Calendar app, like all these slots to fill in. And I'm like, all right, that fits there. That fits. Oh, that looks so pretty and so beautiful. Like I'm creating this art piece on my my screen. And then I forget to humanize it. I'm like, oh wait, it fits, but my energy levels aren't at full capacity today. I've really pushed it the day before. I need recovery time. So there's gonna be gaps. There's gonna be holes.
And if you
And
want it to be colorful, then you literally put in recovery time and put a color
yeah,
in there going, this is my space for me, whatever that recovery looks like, where like I'm filling up just like you would in a workout. You're not going to work out
yeah,
these same muscles every single day. You have that
yeah.
space. And so I'm honoring me and I know that. And I'm putting that in a way that language that speaks to me. And that's what I'm putting in my calendar to honor and reminding myself of the importance of that.
Right. And that's why people hire trainers and coaches, is to say, I need help and guidance to structure and hit these different muscle groups that I'm not fully knowledgeable about or fully aware of how to program. And I am also teaching myself programming in other parts of my life. So I know that I'm showing up for me, I can show up for my clients and say, yeah, I've tested this, I've experienced this, I've maxed my muscles out, I've done this exact workout, I've tweaked it here and there, and now I'm bringing it to you because I know you well enough, and I'll learn throughout these sessions more about you, but I've learned you to know your capacity and to say, you can get pushed a little bit harder here and need a little bit more nurturing here. And and that's why I love the training because it's not just muscles. Yeah, that's a big part of it. But it is the nurturing side to say, how are you feeling today in your body? How are you feeling in your heart? And I may not use that terminology until those people are ready to understand that
You
exchange.
speak their language of whatever resonates, but in the
Right,
same energy behind it.
right. And so I'm really grateful for the opportunity to be invited into with energy to learn them. And outside on for my listeners, our listeners may be experiencing that fresh cut.
Yes, yes. So the noise you hear, the little sound cutting out, that's she's in this beautiful park area. Like I wish you could see it with the trees and things, and it's just beautiful. We have that nature energy like hugging our conversation right now. But then the real life world comes in too, which wants to say hi too. So we're totally cool with that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So we're just like unpack a little bit and enjoy this beautiful weather because New Jersey had a second summer. It came back with a vengeance. It was hot, high, humid in the 90s, and kids were going back to school and sweating it out on the buses. I don't know why they didn't turn the air AC on for them, but they're surviving. So, I mean, that's a good example of like within our thriving phases of life, there are many survival days. Like some days feel like, holy shit, I just got thrown back 5,000 steps and I'm in the depths of that survival. And I relate it to the fact that our lives are not linear or vertical or horizontal. They are spirals. And sometimes those like amusement rides, the needle drop. You've gotten to the very top and you can see this beautiful landscape and all and so expansive. And then you are shot down, like your gut is thrown to your throat because you just got dropped from that point. And this is where the trust of the process comes in.
Absolutely. Well, and also remembering too, what comes to like my mind of really being able to share that is it's a spectrum. And so just because you go back into the survival and thrive is on the same spectrum. And just because you go back into that survival mode doesn't mean we're failing. Doesn't mean we're going backwards. We honor the whole spiral, the whole spectrum in that process. So saying, okay, so I desire to be in the thrive more than I do the survival, but knowing the survival is just as important in its own way. So yes, I'm going back into that space going, okay, I'm surviving. This is okay. This is just a temporary space. I'm getting what's done so then I can make that expansive space for me to step back into the thrive.
Yeah. Yes, when I went through that needle drop just this summer, relating it like kind of hitting the hustle culture, and I realized I could not sustain that long term. And I'm grateful for the season changes because I've really leaned into the nature.
The nature is speaking. They want to join in the conversation too.
Yeah. I really leaned into the seasonal aspect to kind of shift my body with the earth. I'm a woman, so I have a cycle, and I've been observing that around the moon phases, and that's been very powerful too. Because as my cycle comes into play, it would be a full moon or a new moon, and it wasn't consistent throughout the year, but it would be around those kind of those big phases of the moon, and that's something in my shadows, something in my body, physically and emotionally, needed to be released so deeply that my body was helping with that flow, helping with the shutting and the releasing, and it was very powerful, very powerful. Like my cycle helped me finalize that divorce. It was lined up right in that week span. I was like, wow, I can't unsee this.
Yeah, it's like
Energetic.
we energetically shed and emotionally
Yeah.
shed it. Like that's the power that we hold in that space.
Yeah. So in relation to the hustle culture and where I found myself in my job, I was running ragged and not sleeping, and the stress was pouring onto my girls. They were having meltdowns. we just didn't have a consistent routine. So I was like, all right, the fall comes, I'm shifting all of my schedule. I am allowing space for more rest and recovery. I am going to show up for the girls before school, after school, make sure that their bedtime routines are fully focused on them. And they call me out on stuff too. They're like, "Mommy, you're distracted. Mommy, you're a phone face." I'm like, "Uh
That's the
oh."
beautiful part is when we give our permission to our children where they feel safe enough to do that. I do the same thing with my kids. I tell them they're human, and we have this thing where we say self check. So if I
Yep.
say self check, they have to kind of, okay, where am I energy? Like where are these words coming from?
Yeah.
I need to hold that, be present. That's what it kind of means, like in the background. And sometimes
Yeah.
like, I get distracted, all these moving pieces, and my Gemini brain is going, ah, I see all the things. And then they're like, Mom, self.
Yes.
Oh yes,
Yep.
present moment. Come back here. Let's stop spiraling mentally and all of the woulds and coulds and shoulds and what ifs,
Yep.
and just be back into
Yep.
this moment.
Yeah. So, and it's funny. There's always this guilt and shame. I'm like, I'm not playing games on my phone. I'm not scrolling. I'm working. Like I'm planning my calendar, or I'm communicating to clients or my bosses or coworkers. I'm like, I'm doing work. Doesn't that count? But not to their point of view. No, they deserve that attention and that focus. So we talk about it, and I love that. I'm gonna use self check. I'm gonna integrate that into our verbiage and help each other through these times of wanting to be seen. And I like my inner child screams at me. I'm like, that's what you wanted as a baby, as a young one. Give it to them. This is why you're here. Give it to them. And the moments I do, I nurture inner child me. I nurture her. She gets to play with her friends, my children. And then my girls, oh, there's so much richness that comes forward in our bonding and our relationship. And a new thing that we started this school year is that one likes to go on the bus and the other one likes mommy to drive her. And is that convenient for me? No. No. That does not help my morning schedule and my to-do list. But I'm enjoying that one-on-one time. They are enjoying that one-on-one time. They are like, oh, this is mommy all for me, all for me.
And also the
And they,
beautifulness in that of you're allowing them to make choices, empowered choices that serve them, and it doesn't have to be a match. I noticed that with
yeah,
I have three kiddos, and my two younger ones are close in age, kind of just like yours.
mm-hmm,
They're 2 years apart.
mm-hmm,
And a lot
mm-hmm,
of the times they think they have to keep the same choice. Like, oh, they
yep,
said that, so that's what I got to do. And I always say no. Like, I'll say, who wants to come to the grocery store with me?
yep,
And my middle one would be like, no, I want to do this. And I'm like, okay. My little one will be like, oh, maybe not. But he wants to go with me, but he feels, and I said, you can come with. It doesn't have to be an all
mm-hmm,
or nothing. Like you get to make
mm-hmm,
choices for you. And that's what also you're teaching them in that moment where it may be a little more inconvenient for us in the doing of life, but it's a
yep,
beautiful lesson for them to learn as well.
yeah. And I'm so empowered to have been able to provide this as a single mom. Like that was one of my biggest concerns. How do I show up one-on-one for them? And I again keep showing up for myself, teach reparenting, teaching myself self agency and self autonomy, and then it just naturally flows to them. And so
And the
that,
trust that it's
yeah,
all working out. I don't need to know how. This is my intention. And I
yeah,
know that the how is going to come in front of us and know that it's not going to be perfect. And we're going to have that relationship where they can say, hey, mom, this is what I'm feeling. This is my perspective. And it gives them those words too of saying my feelings are important to you as well. It's not just the
mm-hmm,
adults' feelings that are important. And so they can share
mm-hmm,
those spaces of like sometimes there's adults non-negotiable things like I'm
yeah,
on this podcast. If my kiddos came, they would come and they know quietly come in and just put their hand on my hand.
yep,
And they know that means it's not super urgent, but mom, I need your attention. So then I
yep,
know like they're my babies. Like, this is how it works. Then
Yep.
I will have to like pause the recording for a minute. Like, all my guests know that. And then they get my undivided attention for those few moments to answer whatever they need. And then I can go back. And then finding that harmony. It's not even balance. Like, we say balance, but it's not. It's the harmony of life, of how I don't have to choose this or this. I get to have it
Yeah.
all because I choose to have it all and find a beautiful harmonization of
Yeah.
making it all flow together.
And I'd like to point out right there that having both and choosing it all does not equal selfishness.
Yes.
It does not equal vanity or pride. It equals love because the harmony speaks for itself. If it's selfish, it comes out of a fear-based energy. And I think it's really important to understand we are allowed to desire and deserve abundance. And so that is the both and.
And
Not
it's almost like
making,
what coming to me, it's not like when we think selfish, the word selfish, we're thinking like our ego self. So like
yeah,
it's all around that. Where you say when you like the difference between self-centered and soul-centered. Like
yeah,
taking care of my soul and where I'm at, and I'm also then have more energy to ripple out in those
yes,
spaces. So just like little things like that, I'm figuring out how to incorporate where my son will come and he'll put his hand, and then I'll put my hand on top, where he's acknowledging he needs something. He's speaking for his needs when he's not able to, because he
yep,
knows that it's in the middle of something. And then I put my hand where I'm acknowledging you're here. I understand, and I will be with you as soon as I can. It's the words without words. Like, it's the energy
yes.
exchange that he knows in those spaces.
I I love that. I see that as embodiment because your message spoke through your hand. And in order for our hands to give medicine, we have to be embodied. We have to feel safe in our bodies to then push out, expand that energy and love through our hands.
Absolutely.
And that's such a beautiful thing. When my girls are stressed or experiencing some overwhelm, anxiety, I put my hand on their heart and I breathe. I invite them to breathe with me, but if they're not able to at the time, I breathe with for them.
Yeah.
I regulate myself, and then I help regulate their body. And it is something that since they were in their womb, that they regulated from my heartbeat, they regulated from my breathing. And then as newborns, yeah, I didn't understand it at the time how important that was, because there was so much dysregulation in me or my blueprinting, and chaos around me in the marriage that, when I did wake up to how much they needed me in that way, it wasn't spoiling them or coddling them or stunting their development. It was empowering them more because they learned, if mommy is self-regulated, then then they're safe to learn it.
When you're
They're safe.
co-regulating for them, because little
Yeah,
kids, they don't know how to regulate their system by their own yet, so they learn through us. So
yeah.
when they see us regulating and healing our nervous system, it allows them space. Because some people don't realize that our children are actually a reflection of us energetically. When
Mm,
they're under the age about 12 and under, like when they hit that like preteen stage, they start to like pull more of their energy to mix with us, but they're still emotional sponges. So when our
right.
children act out, especially in those ages, and they're having those tantrums, to me, it's a self check of, okay, where do I
Ooh,
feel like screaming and throwing a fit? But I'm not expressing
100%.
it because they're doing it for me. And then I go,
Yes.
okay, I get to regulate. And so it's cute though when I give the tools and we'll do them together. And when they're out on their own and like they're playing like scooter and one falls, like the other one will come and be like, just breathe, it's okay. We can breathe together, and they'll now
Hmm, hmm.
co-regulate together. Or if they
Mm,
see somebody else having a hard time, they're like, it's okay to be sad. And
Mm-hmm.
that's huge for me because I'm raising boys. And culture
Mm.
says like emotions, like a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
times emotions are shut down in boys and they can't express those pieces as freely. And so like that is my way. I believe that's why the creator blessed me with 3 boys, is to break that cycle of allowing them to have that emotional intelligence, the emotional regulation
Mm-hmm.
skills, and to be able to bring that forward. And being excited of like what that means for our future generation, to have the permission
Mm-hmm.
to be able to understand and be in relationship with all of our being.
Yes. Yes. The masculine, feminine blend and the harmony, bringing neutralizing the charges that just came forward. It holding space for ourselves means that we've diffused and and released the charge, so we're not reactive, and then neutralizing the charge for others. We say, okay, they may not be at that awareness or that co-regulate self-regulation. They need, as an adult, they need help regulating. And I've had to deal with this in co-parenting, to step back and say, I'm not going to fire back. I am not going to project. I am going to set a boundary, and I'm going to say this is not profitable. I'm going to send friendly reminders of what this space is meant for, the safety of the children. Um, but it takes so much energy
Well, and
to
it's
neutralize
navigating because
somebody else's charge. Yeah.
you're modeling that healthy nervous system too.
Mm.
And so even if they're not regulating from that space, like you're the permission slip, you're the example sometimes, that if you've never seen the example of this is how a regulated person functions and you've never had regulation your whole life, how do we expect a child to grow up and learn how to be regulated human being?
Right.
You've never had that regulation, and no fault to the parent or anything like that. Sometimes it's just they were not taught emotional intelligence either. Like, so
Mm-hmm.
they were doing the best they could with what they had, but if they aren't regulating their systems and letting you regulate that, your normal is dysregulation. So then when you come back into that actual regulated state, it's almost like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Like it's unfamiliar to you in that space. So it also is like, okay, I'm gonna have to figure out some way to create some chaos for my nervous system to feel normal again. And so it's like unwinding in
Mm-hmm.
anchoring in this is states okay too. Like I can be in all of the states, and that's beautiful. That's part of the journey.
Yeah, there's a lot there. Um, when we were talking about uh, self-regulating, holding space for ourselves, the movement, I think about the older generation in physical fitness. Um, it, it's still new to them. It's still foreign to them. It is very common to see high schoolers and young adults through the 30s that are very well versed in the gym, very well. It does that became the culture to be fit and proud of your muscles. The older generation is learning something so new, because they were told, well, you age and you lose function. You're getting old. That's how it is. And they were kind of set with this mentality of give up.
Mm-hmm.
That's I don't have a choice. I've got to follow the systems, get the job, to get the retirement, to get the social security, to set up my life to kind of sit and die. And I know it's not all it's
It's a grieving
not
process
every.
before the grieving like is needed.
Yes, yes, yes. So I've noticed, like that means their souls have left their bodies before their bodies are done on this earth. And so what I've really appreciated in the fitness industry is seeing the older generations step out of their constructs and deal with us young whippersnappers and the youngins that are, may seem too loud and distracting and full of themselves, or um, when they're just like, I want to move. I hate this, but out of necessity, I want to keep going. I want to move. And so I honor them. I honor everyone showing up for themselves in whatever stage of life that they're at, and saying, I want to keep moving, and I may not look uh magazine ready. I'm going to use an old word, magazine ready instead of social media, but they want to function for their family, for themselves, for their family. I was training an older couple. They want to be able to travel. So like, well, we know we got to be able to do weights because where we go is unstable ground, and flying on planes or driving in cars, you get stiff, and we need to know how to move and be safe to do the activities we want to do. Another client was, I have a grandbaby. I want to be on the floor playing, and I want to be able to get up after playing on the floor. And then it there's it's just so wonderful to see in all parts of our journey, all mentalities of why they move. And I wanted to honor that. The fitness journey is not just about sculpting and a number on the scale or managing their intake. And it's about movement to continue to experience this journey and enjoying life instead of surviving. Shifting from the surviving to the thriving. And when we do hit those periods of surviving, we know that there's a way to move through it. We know we're not stuck there. We just know it's meant to teach us something to get to the next thrive.
Absolutely. And as you're saying that, like movement is core to every stage of life. If you think about
Mm-hmm.
it, a baby is learning first to move its arms and
Yes.
figuring that out,
Yes.
and then crawling and then walking. And like, so how much importance movement is in those beginning stages. And then even as we explore the world in those core stages of like, we're at the gym too, but we're still like all the movements that needed to function in life. And then even in the older stages of being able to, like, I feel like that's where the dis-ease comes. A lot of it is the movement. Like we lose move mobility as we age. And it's not that it has to be, it's just we're also conditioned to slow down in that way. And there's a way to slow down and still move at the same point. And that's a
Yeah.
beautiful piece, like how important movement is and how movement truly is medicine. And breath alone is movement. That's the first.
Mm. Yes. 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 One of my tattoos is a ancient Sanskrit symbol to represent breathe. That's the first thing we do when we come into this life. It's the last thing we do before we leave. And we have
As
to
the
do
wind
it.
is blowing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have to remember to keep breathing for life to keep moving. And that pause, breathe, respond sits so deeply inside of me. And I am so grateful for the awareness of movement, to shift it away from the hustle culture and to say that when we release the expectations of society and conditionings and constructs and sit within our bodies, we do and move more than we realize because we're in tune, we're aligned and not distracted. And we come back to self, to hold space, to hold love, and give it to others.
Beautiful. I feel like that's a beautiful like way to like wrap up the whole thing, like what you just said there, because it's like full circle.
I agree. I agree. And I these conversations are so healing. They're so peaceful. I am so grateful for your time and all the listeners' patience through the world wanting to participate in the background in our conversation. To hold space for me in your lives, in your journey, and to know that you have support wherever you want it in your life. There is someone out there to walk the journey with you. And if that's me, I'm honored. If that's someone else, I support you.
Absolutely. And I'll make sure in the show notes, make sure that you get on IG with her and you follow and you come in her world as well. She's an amazing, incredible human being, and your soul will know if this is where you're meant to be. So reach out with her, even if it's just to say hi and connect and say, "Hey, I heard you." Like she's an amazing person to connect with. So thank you so much for being with us and sharing your wisdom and your heart with us today on this session.
Yes, thank you, Jackie, and thank you, listeners. It was such a beautiful pleasure and enjoyment to fill my soul. Like I am like skipping on cloud nine. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Soul Revolution Tribe and being part of our soul family. If anything in this episode resonated with you, please subscribe, leave a review, and share your takeaways. You can find me on IG at Grow with Jackie B or on YouTube at Soul Revolution Tribe. I will see you next week for more soul conversations and medicine. Bye for now, and see you back soon.